Hello, my name is Ed Guinness and I'm a software developer working in the Bargaining and Dispute Support Unit. I've been asked to give you a brief introduction to the Financial Insider, one of the latest tools we've added to the Workvoice Pay toolkit. So here it is. Once you've logged in, you're presented with, if you've used Workvoice Pay tools, it should be familiar, a search for an employer prompt where you can search for an employer. Here I'm going to choose Tesco Stores Limited. Right, so almost straight away you get presented with this dashboard, which may be useful to you. This is not the Financial Insider per se. This is a dashboard of information that we've developed as a precursor to the Financial Insider. If I just scroll down, you can see the kind of information that it gives you. It doesn't give you much text to go with it, so there's really no explanation of how these figures could be used, how they're useful or relevant, and why they are the way they are. It's just the raw figures. If you're familiar with the data, if you're familiar with accounts data, perhaps this is useful. I know that our accountant uses it quite extensively. But moving on to the Financial Insider, using this big green button at the top here. Right, so here we've got the Financial Insider preview as a web page. I say as a web page because if you scroll right down the bottom just quickly, you can see there's two options to download as PDF or download as Word. But just to take a little tour through what you get inside the Financial Insider. Obviously company information is important up front. That may or may not be interesting to you. The company number is the number as registered at Companies House. So moving into the meat of the information, Tesco Stores is part of Tesco PLC. So I mean, if you know the Tesco group structure, you'll know there's literally hundreds of subsidiaries, but they all are parented by Tesco PLC. So whichever subsidiary you search for, whichever company, whichever employer you're looking for, if it's part of that subsidiary, you would see a similar result here, part of Tesco PLC. And that can be important because profits are often shifted between companies within a group, as the text says here. So looking at the group's position can give a better idea of the real profitability, especially if profits have been moved between companies. In this case, Tesco PLC is a public company, which means its shares can be bought and sold on a stock exchange. Looking at the profitability of the group, you can see recent results, operating profit and profit before tax. It's a chart showing the same thing. Tesco PLC, yes, it's consistently profitable. So despite the pandemic, despite everything, it's still making a fairly healthy profit. And there is another chart showing similar data. There's an explanation of operating profit as well. Dividend payments is always interesting for these large companies. Tesco PLC paying out hundreds of millions, it's an eye-watering amount in 2021, 5.89 billion. Interesting that followed a year where there were no dividend payouts. Tesco Stores, is it growing? Well, if you contrast with 2018, so 5 years previous, it's grown by 8.3%, so yes, it is growing. Perhaps not quite as well illustrated in this chart, but you can still see some growth. The company that you searched for, in this case Tesco Stores, how profitable is it? 1.26 billion in the last financial year, 23.8% increase in profits compared to the previous year. It's been making profit every year in the last 5 years. And its main costs, here's an interesting thing. So here we're looking at the total costs as reported by Tesco Stores for the last 5 years. Staff costs being a fairly small component. So this is average employee remuneration costs adjusted for inflation. So CEO pay at the company. And here's an interesting section about what a 11.3% pay increase would cost the company. So earlier we saw that the relative size of staff costs for Tesco stores is fairly small in relative terms. Certainly it's dwarfed by other costs. Here is the figures. Here's the calculation. So 10.5% of the company's total income was staff costs, and so if Tesco stores was to give an 11.3% pay increase across all roles, all staff getting a pay increase, 534 million, which sounds like a lot, and it is, but putting it in context, putting it in perspective, it's just 1.2% of the company's 2022 sales, and less than 42.4% of Tesco stores' 2022 profits. The company could have paid 11.3% more in 2022 and still made a profit. Director pay, another interesting one to look at. For some reason, the latest accounts don't include director pay. Oh, this is at the group, by the way. But the previous year, 5.41 million, which was a massive increase from the previous year, which itself was a massive increase from 2020. It does seem to go up and down, but I think it's interesting to reflect on the scale of director pay when looking at particularly the average employee remuneration adjusted for inflation. So that's that. Now if you want to download this, you can download it as PDF, which is probably best for printing or sharing. All the formatting is retained, all the charts are in there as well. If you want to add or adapt or copy parts of this report, you can just download it as Word. Let me download it as a PDF and show you quickly what that looks like. And there we go. It's the same thing, just in a PDF suitable for printing or sharing as it is. Okay, that's it for the demo. Thanks very much for listening.